All right, my friends, it's Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, and I want to welcome you back to another episode here on the Fit Father Project podcast. Today, we're joined by a very interesting guest, Josh Whalen, who is the founder of Blokes, which is a telehealth platform that provides game-changing treatments for guys. It's a TRT, which stands for testosterone replacement therapy, prescription peptide, and just generally rocket fuel for life. And I wanted to bring Josh on because, one, he is a really impressive guy. And I think we're going to talk a lot about the breakthroughs and stuff that's coming around the corner in terms of how guys can optimize beyond just focusing on their nutrition and their exercise. There are a lot of novel compounds that are now available to us that we can take that can enhance our health. So we're going to get into some of that. And I also, Josh is a dad, a former athlete, and generally just a guy that really vibes with our community. So Josh, thanks for coming on today. I'm excited to have you here and talk all things men's health.
Thank you, Dr. Balduzzi. It's great to be here. I'm excited to talk about it as well.
So let's kick it off. Just a little background about you and your family and maybe some of your upbringing so people can get a pulse of what your life experience has been like. And then we'll talk about some telehealth.
Yeah, man. Military brat. My dad served 21 years in the Army, 82nd Airborne and Special Forces. So I was in Fort Bragg, Fort Carson. Went to school at University of Northern Iowa, spent a lot of time in Chicago, Wisconsin. And my career path was more along the lines of not knowing what the hell I wanted to do right out of college, getting fired from a handful of jobs. And then finally, I got a really good gig with a company called Stryker. And I was in their orthopedic spine implant division. And I was one of those guys that was in the OR. And I was with those guys for almost 5 years. And I wanted to see if the grass was greener. A lot of people told me I was an idiot for leaving. The grass was greener, and I've been an entrepreneur ever since in healthcare. I've done everything from own operate compounding pharmacies, laboratories, urine drug screens, blood testing, to regenerative medicine clinics, i.e. stem cells. And now onto, I think, the biggest and most fun adventure I've ever done, and that is men's health and women's health. And really trying to empower individuals to own their journey in health and a preventative and proactive manner.
Nice. And so this leads us to Blokes, which I want to frame the conversation around that. Tell us a little about your company, when it was founded and what you guys effectively do, because I think that'll be a nice container for us to talk about different stuff like TRT, peptides, and even just how this whole world of like telehealth even works.
Yeah. So we started treating patients in September 21. Blokes did. We launched our women's line in March of 23. It's called Joy. We are an inch wide, a mile deep into optimization. And what optimization to us is heavy diagnostic labs to help us find the root cause, to then sitting down with patients and consulting them through nutrition and lifestyle, with therapies that we think align really well with that preventative and proactive care model. A couple of those is testosterone replacement and then prescription peptide therapies. And then we do it all from the manner of this, 101 consults through video. Some of what we can do can be prescribed with dynamic questionnaires. So we're licensed in all 50 states, super easy access to treat you. And we do it from the confines of your home or your work and on your schedule.
Okay. I want to ask you a question now. This is kind of like from the hat of you as an entrepreneur. Like, why does this exist? Why is this such a problem in relation to our conventional medical system? Like, why does Blokes fill a problem gap in the marketplace that a traditional doctor is not getting the job done, or the insurance model is not getting the job done? Why aren't people able to get these kind of prescription peptide therapies from their local doctor? Why is that right kind of testing not necessarily being done, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think there's a few things there. One, I think healthcare in general has become very congested, and the process, at least to men, at least from my point of view, has always been kind of a pain in the butt, whether it's scheduling, whether it's waiting in the waiting room, whether it's driving out of your way. And I think that's when the emergence of telehealth has really stepped in. I think the other piece is COVID has kind of expedited this to an nth degree that I don't even know if we were ready for. We weren't ready for, because EMRs and systems have not caught up in a HIPAA compliant fashion. So I think there's a lot of gaps. And then to answer it from more of a clinical based scenario, I think we're seeing more and more that physicians are practicing different than they thought they would coming out of med school. And I think when you look at our current model, I say this a lot, we despise sick care and we don't practice in that vein. And I think when you start taking insurance, it becomes a volume game. And then you start looking at what we do, hormones and peptides and optimization. It's become specialized. Not everybody coming out of med school even has heard of a peptide. I've had literal conversations with physicians. I said, do you know what a peptide is? And they go, yeah, no, I don't. And I said, well, insulin's a peptide. And they go, oh, okay, I know what a peptide is. Well, the peptides that we do are so new and so novel that I think it's just become so specialized. And I look at it this way. If I'm a patient and I have a knee injury, I go see an orthopedist that manages knees. I don't go see a neurosurgeon or I don't go see an OBGYN. And I think that's what's happened in hormone optimization and peptide therapy and really learning and trying to understand diagnostic labs to where it fits you from a functional build. So I think we fill a lot of those gaps, whether it's just from a convenience standpoint, an accessibility standpoint, but then also just we're very, very hyper specialized in what we do.
Nice. And I'm sure you've had some personal experience with using your therapies, whether it's TRT or peptides. Give us a little of a primer, maybe some personal story of like how you've benefited from this. And that's probably a way for us to back into the conversation on some of the stuff that's out there so people are more aware of possible therapies.
Yeah, listen, I am like the My Pillow guy. I am the founder, and I am also living and breathing this journey every day. I believe in our therapies to my core, and one, because it's results driven. These work. This isn't some T booster that you're getting at GNC that you don't even know if it's working. I will tell you my journey. I was on the cusp of a divorce, and I went through 2 primary care doctors that, looking back now, gave me really bad guidance. They told me I was on the low side of a range and there wasn't much I can do. I finally found a hormone specialist that changed my life, literally saved my marriage. And I just told my wife this morning because I had an investor call. We took before pictures when I started this business in September, and I weighed 258 pounds. Today, I weighed in at 235. So, and I'll tell you, I'm a bigger guy. Like I push a lot of weight in the gym, but it hasn't been a grueling experience. It's actually been rather pleasant. I still drink from time to time. I still go out with friends. I eat as healthy as I can. But the therapies have changed my life to have more motivation, eliminate brain fog. The motivation thing was huge when I got on testosterone. I wasn't working out, maybe one day a week. I was drinking 12 cups of coffee to get through the day. And as your testes are sending signals to your receptors in your body that allow you to get motivated. I went from that to working out now. If I don't work out 4 or 5 times a week, it's off. Something's off with me, and I feel it. So, I'm a living, breathing, walking example of what we do. And it's been very results driven. It's not been a painful process at all. I've done the yo-yo diets like everybody else. I was a wrestler. I cut weight. I know that whole experience, and it's grueling. It sucks. Mentally, it sucks too. You're like a hamster in a hamster wheel that's just running and running and trying to maintain things. For us, I feel like we give you the edge to make better and wiser decisions in your health. And it helps us get you to the finish line quicker. So I look at us just an adjunct to something like you do. You still have to make those good lifestyle decisions because nobody's over your shoulder telling you exactly what to do when nobody's there. We're going to get you there quicker. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to talk a little about TRT because I think that's a nice, easy way to start because many people are familiar with it. What does the process look like for someone who maybe suspects they have low testosterone? Like when they engage with Blokes, like what do? Do you go to your website? Do you like schedule a consult, like labs drawn? Like walk me through what that's like. And then how even do you guys deliver TRT? Is it shots, pills, creams, etc.?
Yeah, it's super simple for us. Go to blokes.co, sign up online. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes to fill out the standard health history forms and waivers. Our team contacts you, schedules your labs. We have a few different ways that everybody who's on any type of hormone, man or woman, you have to have labs. They have to be part of your regular curriculum as a patient. And we do anywhere from probably 4 to 6 labs on a patient. We can send somebody to your home. You can go to a draw station with one of our affiliate partners, LabCorp, Quest, big names in the space. In some cases, we can even send at-home tests directly to you. So we try to make it as easy and convenient as possible. Since we are virtual, there's a handful of ways that we can actually treat you as a patient. Injections, which is subcutaneous or intramuscular. I do subcutaneous twice a week. Creams is another way. And then troches. Troches are just basic oral versions of testosterone that sit under your tongue and dissolve over time. We tend to see the best results with subcutaneous twice a week over anything else. That's typically what we advise. But we certainly will work with any patient to get them within their comfort zone. Listen, a lot of people are just needle phobic. We get it. So we'll put you on creams or we'll put you on troches. And the best thing about it, this stuff works. I mean, you're gonna feel something typically within the first 30 days. We typically see results starting to happen after 90 days, peak results somewhere between 6 months and a year.
Okay, cool. And how long have you personally been on it?
I've been on it for 2 years, religiously. I've not gotten off testosterone. I cycle on and off certain peptides. I know what I felt like when I was low T. And doctor, I was at a 250 nanogram per deciliter score in my mid 30s, which is, as you know, that's a legit hypogonadism patient. So I felt like crap. I will never go back because I know how I feel. I know the motivation it gives me. I'm a better dad. I'm a better husband. Our sex life has changed dramatically, which is very important in any relationship. And I'm a better businessman because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is a lifestyle decision, right? I mean, like getting on TRT it becomes a really key part of your routine, especially when you introduce like external hormones. So the consistency thing and making sure you're making the right decision for you is an important aspect of that. And it seems like that was 100% the right thing for you and you're benefiting from it. Great. I want to talk about this other world too of peptides. And this is something that many people don't know about. You know, there are many different names and peptides are a short sequence of amino acids. Are like small proteins and they can have a varied number of biological effects. Like you mentioned, insulin being a peptide, but there's also some interesting peptides for weight loss, for healing injuries, and a bunch of others that you offer. Talk to us about the landscape of peptides right now. What should guys, particularly guys 40 plus, know about peptides?
Yeah, well, let's start with the basics. Peptides have been around for years. As you mentioned, insulin is a peptide. We have close to 60 peptides that are FDA approved. And like you said, they're short chains of amino acids, stepping stones for proteins. They can be administered in many ways, just like hormones or testosterone. And I look at peptides as very, very specific messengers in your body to accomplish specific tasks. And I look at hormones slightly different. The hormones are going to raise the whole boat, where peptides are going to focus on certain portions of the boat. And they can treat everything from, brain fog to sexual health to weight loss to growth hormones, so strength, appetite, all those things. I think they're a novel subject. I think I love where we're going with the space. I hope the FDA catches up with it. I like to say these are very, very low risk, high reward type therapies when done under medical supervision, getting them through compounding pharmacies, US-based pharmacies. They're a game changer. They can do so much for the human body.
Okay, let's back into this through your personal use. What peptides have you tried that have had some of the biggest benefit, and or what are the most popular peptides that people get through Blokes that you think are really important that guys should know about?
Yeah, I mean, I personally have experience with GLP-1 medication, GLP-1 agonists. So the likes of
for non-science people, let's kind of break that down a little bit too.
Yeah, listen, it's a glucogen-like peptide. What you should take away from it is it's a peptide that's indicated for two things: type 2 diabetes and obesity or weight. And I've had a lot of experience with those, and they work really, really well. They're FDA approved. Most patients lose anywhere from 10 to 20% of their body weight over a year time, and that's clinically proven. By the mechanisms is it slows down your appetite, it slows down your cravings. By doing that, you have reduction in A1C scores, you have a reduction in blood pressure. And I will tell you, as a living, breathing person of this, all that has come true, and it's not been painful. A couple other peptides that we really, really love are growth hormone peptides. So the likes of like sermorelin. As you age, just like everything else in your body, your growth hormone tends to age. And, we just replace it with that. The beautiful things about peptides is we're just adding more to that natural production. We're never shutting down the body's natural production of peptides. A couple others, I've been using a peptide called BPC-157. It's considered the Wolverine drug in the space. And it mimics the juices in your gut, the gastric juices in your gut for the healing properties of that. And it's been really, really good for inflammation for me. It's been really good, for soft tissue injuries. I had some Achilles injuries from playing pickleball of all things. And I inject it right into that site. The thing that's been phenomenal for me with the BPC-157 is I was a wrestler back in the day, and I was an idiot wrestler because I took laxatives to lose weight, to cut weight. And I really did some damage to my intestines, my gut. And it's been the only thing that has really helped me in terms of my bowels. And, that may seem like a small thing, but I will tell you, it has changed my life. It has helped my hydration. Going to the bathroom when you want to go versus when you actually have to go has been a really big game changer for me. And then we have a lot of different things with skin, GHK-Cu creams, which really amazing peptide for your skin. Those are our primary sellers, though.
Nice. And I'll say I have direct experience with GHK-Cu as well as BPC-157. I've used BPC-157 in oral form and in injectable form to help with healing after surgeries. I have heard really good stories, and it has a great safety profile. I've tried GHK-Cu after a surgery to help speed up some connective tissue healing. I'm not sure how much that one necessarily helped, but I know it has like collagen and boosting properties. So it's like the research is pretty clear on that. And then the first one you mentioned, which was in the class of drugs, like a peptide of GLP-1 agonists, is called semaglutide. And I think that like kind of took the social media scene by storm last year. Maybe people here haven't necessarily heard of that, but it was like this weight loss miracle compound people were talking about. And it does help lower hunger levels. So if guys are feeling like you're just voraciously hungry all the time, having a hard time maintaining weight that you have lost, it could be something worth taking. Yet I would say, even though these things have like a fantastic safety profile overall, there are some side effects, like the GLP-1 agonist can give you some nausea, injection site pain. And are these things something that guys cycle, or do they take them like long-term in your experience?
It's a good question. And I don't think we have the exact answer yet. What I will tell you is it depends on the patient. If you're talking clinically obese patients, the perfect candidate for it, it might be something that is more lifetime. You might scale back on the dosage. If you're talking somebody who, is maybe borderline, 29 BMI that goes down, there's probably a way to microdose over time. But as well as anybody, these medications are going to help you get there. The ability to maintain it is also a lot of willpower and knowing what's going in and out of your mouth and making the right lifestyle decisions. We have treated a lot of patients with semaglutide and tirzepatide, whether they're type 2 diabetic or obese, that have done nothing, absolutely nothing, but they haven't changed any bit of their eating habits, even though their cravings and their appetite has reduced. The patients that do extremely well and that have less side effects, less nausea, less acid reflux are the ones that are putting away the booze, are not drinking wine, eating whole foods, managing their stress, getting sleep, because all that plays a very, very big role in the success of these drugs. It's not a magic solution. It's not a magic pill. It's not a magic shot. It's just going to help you get there.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great point. I mean, these are like just very, very, very potent supplements. I mean, they come in many different forms. I like to think of them in that way.
Yep.
Like you could take one of these peptides, like sermorelin, for example, that can increase the growth hormone release in your body, and still eat like crap and still actually gain weight, despite having better GH levels, for example. We see some of these aging actors and bodybuilders, like the Sylvester Stallone kind of guys that are still like 65, 70 and still like ripped and shredded. A lot of these guys are taking stuff. Are they taking these types of things, TRT, peptides? I mean, to the best of your knowledge, maybe not any guy specifically, but like what's going on in terms of like the scene of like this longevity, guys who still want to have a very high level of physical performance? How important are these to actually achieve those results realistically?
I would say 100% they're using these therapies. They've been doing it probably a lot longer than we've even been talking about it more from just an overall community standpoint. I think the other thing that Hollywood does really well is they manage their diet really well. I mean, you look at, the Sylvesters or the J-Lo, like they don't drink and they eat really good. So that helps them from a longevity standpoint, a vitality standpoint. But yes, we have certain Hollywood style patients. I can't name any names that use our therapies, and they're very tight in those circles. So yeah, I think it's been a secret for a while. Our goal is to bring it to just the common man. That's why we named the company Blokes, and we're just trying to help normal guys live better lives.
Mm-hmm. And like from a very practical, like financial perspective, because I what I've gathered from this is you guys are not going through insurance, but I would use something like an HSA or just cash account to get these therapies, and just know that whatever the cost is per month of this, let's say it's a couple $100, $400 or $500, whatever it ends up being for the therapies that one of your doctors would say was right for me, would just be massively beneficial. And like, what's the kind of financial setup? I think that's maybe guys are thinking sounds interesting. What's the rub out on how much it costs?
Listen, it's as big or as small as you want to get it, but it doesn't mean just because you don't spend a lot of money, you're not going to get a lot of efficacy behind it. Our TRT plan starts at $149 a month, and that is inclusive of every single thing: your consults, your coaching, which includes lifestyle, nutritional tips, your medications, your needles, your syringes. So that's a pretty affordable. I mean, God, listen, you go to the grocery store, buy, a carton of eggs for $10, or go out to dinner with your gal, and that's easily $150. The changes could be life changing. And then you start stacking it with a peptide, you're probably in that $250 range. One of the things that we're doing, and we're on the 1 yard line, is we signed a deal with a company that's going to offer financing in the telehealth space, which is a big deal because, we have our costs, patients have their wants and desires of what they want to pay. The beautiful thing is we're going to get a lot of people financed. They're going to get a really low monthly payment, and it's going to be interest-free up to a year. So we're trying to do that as quickly as possible. We take HSA and FSA all the time. So those are ways that we try to work around, patient needs. But when I look at it, my monthly spend, I think it's pretty darn reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like it could be game changing. And how does this work with someone who has like a primary care doctor? Like, how do they manage both? I've been seeing Dr. John for 10, 15 years. He's my guy. But now I also have felt like Dr. John hasn't been, as privy to some of the stuff I've been interested in. So maybe I go to Blokes and I'm interested in doing TRT consult. Like, how do you guys play with someone's like traditional primary care?
I mean, we play as well as they'll play. We're an inch wide, a mile deep in what we do. What we often find is primary cares can be very, very green lit, or they can be completely against it. And I tell patients this, primary cares are seeing a lot of patients in a day, average visit somewhere between 7 and 10 minutes. I would ask your primary care how often, or what is their payer mix? Like how many patients are they treating that is hormone related or peptide related or optimization related? And if it's less than 50%, then it's probably a good thing to seek out a specialist. But we play very well in the sandbox. We want them to help us in that journey. But I've gone through that experience myself. I will say this is one of the primary reasons I started Blokes, because I wasn't getting the care I needed. And I look at, the standard practice right now, it's very reactive. And we look at ourselves as a very proactive company. And when we run lab panels, we're running no less than 32 markers up to, 70 markers. So we're getting that full scope, that full audit right then and there. We don't do reactive testing. We're trying to get ahead of it. If a primary care is against it, we get on the phone with them. We talk about the safety profile. We encourage it, and most of the time, it's very, very manageable and very good. But we wouldn't tell you to leave them, because there's things they do that we don't do.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I want to talk a little bit about libido and sexual health. I know this is an area where peptides and certain things can have a pretty big and substantial effect. And there's many ways where guys have, problems with erectile dysfunction, whether it's psychological, whether it's problems with blood flow and nitric oxide. Like, what have you seen? Because I know you guys have some offerings regarding helping guys improve libido. Yeah. What are some of the therapies and suggestions and ideas that you have for guys based on your experience?
I mean, the first thing is get your blood checked. Number one, see where your hormones are. If your testosterone is low, that's probably a good reason, or a possible reason, why you're having potential ED. And I think, we've started coining it as, more along erectile performance, not dysfunction, because I think when people hear ED, they're going, oh, my penis doesn't work. There's a lot more that goes into that. Are you waking up with morning erections? That's extremely important. That is blood flow. You need blood flow. We would start with, guys at least getting a baseline hormone check. And then there are phenomenal therapies outside of testosterone that will boost that erection or that performance in bed. PT141 has been a fun peptide. Bremelatide is the clinical name for it, but it's great for sexual arousal, sexual performance, helps with erection strength. You can take it, as needed. We're starting to get a lot more into low doses of, Cialis, low doses of Viagra, just from a blood flow perspective. And I think you're going to start hearing this more and more. ED equals ED, and that's erectile dysfunction equals early death. And it comes down to blood flow. That's all it is. And I just actually started that, a very low dose of Cialis. I can't report a lot yet, but I will tell you, I have heart issues in my family, and that's the last thing I want to do. My dad clocked out in his late 50s. So anything beyond that for me is bonus time. But I refuse to give in at that point, and I'm going to make sure I have a strong heart.
I'm glad you brought that up, and let's take a little moment to stick on that low dose Cialis. I had the opportunity last year to interview one of the world's greatest experts on nitric oxide, and we actually talked about that, how effectively Cialis is a drug that inhibits the enzyme that breaks down nitric oxide, which is this key gas in all of our arteries and capillaries that expands and vasodilates. And so by just taking a little bit of that drug, people are calling it like maybe the aspirin of the future. Low dose Cialis might be the aspirin of the future. And like, if you were to take it for erectile dysfunction, maybe you take like 40 milligrams plus, but we're talking like maybe like 5-7 milligrams a day, where it's just such a small amount where you don't even necessarily notice. You don't take it. It's not like you get immediately boner. You just like over time may feel like you have a little more energy because you're having better blood flow. And there's a lot of different supplements for nitric oxide out there, but this is one of the ones that like definitively gives a pretty solid boost. So that's cool. I'm glad you're on that train. I think we're going to see a lot more of those prescriptions because the drug name is tadalafil and it's very safe. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah, and as you know, the original intent of that drug had nothing to do with erections. It was getting boners all the time. They're like, hey, we're trying to treat you for heart issues, but everybody's popping up with boners. Let's sell boner pills. And but the beautiful thing is it's a huge buzzword in the longevity community right now. And there's even studies coming out to with these medications for Alzheimer's, for brain blood flow. I mean, all blood flow is paramount to longevity and a healthy life. And if I can get an edge to increase my health span and lifespan, I'm going to do it. I have a 5-year-old daughter. I'm 40. I have a 2-year-old son. when my daughter is 25, I'm going to be 60 years old. I need to be crushing. I need to be cruising. I need to have an edge. So for me, it's just a way of life at this point.
Nice. I want to get into in the back part of this convo some like longevity, anti-aging stuff. I guess this is a personal question. Maybe it's a little too pointed, but like you've started TRT at an age where like do we have the data on what it's like? Can you take TRT for like 50 years without any ill effects? Like, are you going to be giving yourself shots when you're 90? Are there different therapies that are going to be? Are you just on the bleeding edge of science and we're going to see what comes down the pipeline at this point?
Yeah, I guess I am on the other end of the spectrum, and no, we don't have that data. It's also a shame that we don't have that data for women. There's literally no clinical indication for women in testosterone, and we know it works extremely well.
Yeah, for libido, for muscle mass, for fat loss, women need it too, just in a lower amount, but it can be phenomenally helpful. If you have a wife with like libido issues, a little bit of testosterone could like change the game, and it's not going to give her a beard.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. People don't realize women have more testosterone than they do estrogen. And testosterone is what produces estrogen. And it's so vital to men and women. We don't have that data. I don't know why we don't, because it's been around long enough. I will tell you, I will be taking it till I'm 100 if I can, if it still is improving my life. Right now, I see no downside. My symptoms are extremely managed. I think what people have to do is understand the safety profile when it's done under medical supervision and you're incorporating labs. It is extremely vital. I can't tell you how many times we have guys come to this and they've been on TRT for 2 years, but they've had one lab. That's dangerous. You know, things change when you're on testosterone. Your hematocrit can rise, which is the viscosity of your blood. And you should be monitoring that. You should be monitoring your estrogen levels. You want good estrogen. You should be monitoring your PSA. To me, by doing stuff like this, I'm just more proactive in my labs on a regular basis. And I think there's fringe benefits. But to answer your question, yeah, I'm fringe, but I will tell you, I saved my marriage because of this stuff. I literally saved my marriage. Oftentimes your partner is the one that points out where you're lacking. And for me, I was lacking a sex drive and she was lacking sex, and it changed my game. It really changed my game. And our relationship has benefited so much from that.
Yeah. And it's hard to understate, there's years in life and also the quality in those years. And, if done safely, a lot of guys roll this for many, many years. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about NAD. So this is something that also has kind of become a very popular, buzz type discussion in the longevity science oriented community. I'll give a little bit of a scientific primer, but basically this is a super important molecule that is used to exchange electrons, which effectively leads us to create energy in these mitochondria, among other things. It's like a ubiquitous signaling molecule that helps facilitate different kinds of reactions. We see NAD+, it turns into NADH. We don't need to get too deep into the science. What is NAD as it relates to the benefits that people receive? What have you seen from having patients on that? How is it administered? What should people know about NAD in a long life?
Yeah, I mean, you gave the best clinical version of this, so I'll leave that alone. And I will tell you my personal experience on it. I've been taking that now for a year and a half. I take it weekly or I take it as needed. What I feel is moments of clarity, like big moments of clarity where I'm just connected. Like I can be in a meeting and I just feel more connected. I could be, on a run or a workout and I just feel more connected. Energy levels, my energy levels spike. Honestly, I'm not like a big guy on my skin, but my skin feels better. It feels tighter. And what's crazy about it is it's taken the world by storm. There's a few ways you can do it. Intravenously, which I've done, is about a 2 to 3 hour session. You can push a greater dosage. I don't like that because it's hard for me to sit in a IV chair for 2 to 3 hours, regardless of the actual position. But that's just a long time for me. I do them subcutaneous or intramuscular. I pretty much do them all or subcutaneous. I get pretty much the same result. I do anywhere from 100 to 300 milligrams at a time, which isn't that much compared to an IV setting. And some of the quick symptoms, I almost feel like it takes my breath away. Sometimes I have to take a seat, and it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to really set in. And then I'm off to the races, and I feel like $1 million from it. So sometimes I take it just based off of, feeling a little lethargic. Like maybe I didn't sleep well. Maybe my kids were a pain in the butt the day before. Maybe my wife was a pain in the butt. And sometimes I'll just take a little bit and I just feel better. So it's a great therapy. It's another one of those that I say, high reward, low risk, especially when done under medical supervision, especially when you're getting it from the right pharmacies. I think if you're doing it that way, it will be a great option for most people.
It's kind of fascinating what's happening in the NAD front too. I don't know if you've been following too much of the politics, but one of the main doctors from Harvard, Dr. Sinclair, who was like the guy who kind of brought it with a very important paper a few years ago. I know you know a lot about this. Like they've been trying to bring a lot of these products to market, some of these precursors of NAD, like NMN supplements, and niacin is related to this as well. And now there's a whole kind of like war going on right now with what can actually be sold, because it's a pretty powerful thing, what products are available. But as of current, at least I can speak in Arizona, people are flying off the shelves with different supplements and NAD injections and therapies. And if someone is listening to this and you really want to push the longevity envelope and you want to experience like cellular energy like you had when you were younger, like outside of just the good lifestyle stuff, NAD is definitely something worth looking into. So
yeah,
awesome.
I agree, man. And Sinclair is the catalyst behind it. And he's been talking about this for years. And we'll see how long NMN has with the FDA. I know he's been bullish to, because I don't think a lot of people realize Sinclair has its own pharmaceutical company.
That's why. Yeah, there's money interested at play, right? I mean, it'd be nice for him to get that off the table and into his particular product and formulation.
Exactly.
But either way, it is still available like in many forms that you can get this stuff. And ultimately, this is a pretty ubiquitous compound, and then I'm sure people are going to find backdoors to make sure that levels are being raised.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Well, this was good. I think we covered a good amount of landscape in a short amount of time. We will definitely have links in the show notes to Blokes, as well as any other special offers you may have for our Fit Father community. So there's going to be links that people can check out, and hopefully someone listens to this and they're interested enough to at least schedule a consult, right? Get some lab work that's deeper than you may have had with your primary doc. And I want to kind of give you the floor one more time to share anything you'd like to in closing about like the promise of this stuff, or anything you'd like to emphasize as key point.
Yeah, listen, I tell every single person this: own your journey. I mean, you don't let a white coat, a primary care doctor, an internal medicine doctor own your journey to a better and more optimized life. And if we're a catalyst in that, we'd love to help you. If not, find somebody that can help you. We're super easy. Go to our website, schedule an online consultation. We'll take it from there. But, I think there's so much coming at us in a consumer market where it's hard to differentiate, and get second opinions and get third opinions, but own your journey in your own health.
Nice. Well, Josh, thanks for coming on. Thanks for your time today. Wish you a super successful year ahead with Blokes, helping many more men. Successful year ahead as a father, and just doing the thing. You're walking the walk. It's great to see. I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you, Dr. Valdez.